Good morning, everybody. It's Wednesday, November 13th, 5:25 a.m. Central Time. Grain markets are mixed this morning, pretty quiet overnight trade. In today's episode, we've got Trump's EPA pick, more problems at ADM, Russia potentially stealing some Ukrainian grain, I guess, improvement in U.S. winter wheat conditions, U.S. harvest update, soybean shipments. Let's start off with the Trump EPA pick.
So President-elect Trump will appoint former New York Congressman Lee Zeldin to run the EPA. According to Trump, Zeldin will implement deregulatory measures aimed at unlocking the potential of American businesses. Environmental groups are criticizing the nomination, claiming Zeldin is unqualified and will be a detriment to environmental policy. In a post on X, Zeldin said he intends to restore U.S. energy dominance, revive the auto industry, and make the U.S. the global leader of AI. Zeldin's position will require Senate confirmation. Zeldin is considered to be bad for biofuels among biofuel analysts.
So the stuff about restoring U.S. energy dominance, revitalizing the auto industry, bringing back American jobs, it all sounds very well and good, right? There's a problem, though. This guy has a history of being kind of anti-biofuels. Here's our friend, Corey Levinsky on Twitter at Biofuels Law. He's excellent. Lee Zeldin, nominee for EPA administrator, co-signed several letters and co-sponsored several bills that supported stunting the growth of the ethanol industry. This all happened prior to 2020. So the big question today is, have his views changed? And we don't know that. He doesn't really have a ton of history here. I mean, we have some things that he voted on or sponsored. I'm looking at his Wikipedia page, and he's just under the environmental section. There's very little. I could probably go with the notion, based on what I've seen, that maybe he's not super qualified for this position. The Senate will have to approve this. Soybean oil futures, I believed, fell yesterday on this news and this pick, and that helped to drag the soy complex lower. We've talked at length in the past about how we need demand expansion domestically for corn and soybeans through biofuels. We're kind of capped to some extent on what we can export, especially with the tariff man coming back to office. Exports are not where we should look for demand improvement. So we need to see it domestically. And if you got kind of an anti-biofuel guy heading up the EPA, it's going to make it all that more difficult. Pete Meyer will join me in today's premium video. We're going to talk about this Lee Zeldin pick, some of the history here, some of the implications. We're also going to talk about last week's ruling from the California Air Resource Board. There's a lot of irons in the fire right now when it comes to biofuels and the expansion of biofuel usage here in the U.S.
ADM has requested more time to file its third quarter financial report. On Tuesday, the company reported that it would not be able to meet the filing deadline without unreasonable effort and expense. This marks the second time this year that ADM has postponed its financial reporting. In recent weeks, ADM said it would soon release its revised filings, which included newly found accounting errors. Earlier this year, an investigation into the company's accounting practices caused ADM to correct 6 years of financial data due to errors. Year to date, ADM stock is down about 29%.
We're just keeping this story updated because we continue to see fresh headlines. I still feel like we haven't heard all of it. The ADM stock made fresh lows just last week, traded down to $48 and change. I think it bounced a little bit, but it's down 29% year to date, while the broader stock market's up 26%. I've had some questions come in from subscribers since we've talked about this. Like, Joe, I've got money, deferred cash with ADM. Should I be worried about that? I don't think so personally, but, crazier things have happened. Who knows?
So if you guys have not checked out our premium content, you sure need to do so. Joe, can you tell me about yesterday's premium video?
Had lots of questions come in about the funds and the fact that they're now long the corn market. Does that mean I should sell corn? Does it mean I should buy corn? Yesterday, I had 10 charts that I thought I did a decent job putting the charts together, about the history of the fund positioning and the corn market, and how I like to use the CFTC data in some instances as a grain marketing tool. There was a PDF download where all 10 charts I had were included. This is a super easy to follow, kind of shorter video. I think it was like 8 minutes long, but you'll absolutely get the gist of it if you want to check that deal out. Guys, check out the premium deal. It's $50 per month. Go to standardgrain.com. You can sign up this morning. I'll forward you a copy of this morning's email, which includes that video and yesterday's chart PDF. You'll see today's video featuring Pete. We're going to talk about biofuels, the Trump EPA pick, all that stuff. You can sign up on your phone. It's a piece of cake, $50 a month. Google Pay, Apple Pay, Cash App, credit card. Takes like 30 seconds. Give that deal a shot, guys.
Russia has included grain production data from Ukrainian territories under its control in its 2024 forecast. Russia's ag ministry is estimating this year's grain harvest at 130 million metric tons, down 12% from 2023. The decline is attributed to unfavorable weather. Winter grain acres are forecast to remain steady at approximately 47 million. Russia currently controls about 18% of Ukrainian territory. Last year, Russia harvested 148 million metric tons of grain, with 4% of the total originating from annexed Ukrainian territories. Earlier this week, the Russian Grain Union alleged that the Ag Ministry was including Ukrainian data in an attempt to alter its figures to conceal losses.
This is probably the least shocking news that I've ever read. When you look at the maps of Ukrainian wheat production and then some of the Russian occupied territories, they're some of the same territories. So it's no surprise that this is happening. I wonder if USDA is going to have to shuffle some things around when it comes to supply and demand. I don't know if the amounts are necessarily that great, but in any case, I think this is something that we probably already knew, and now it's just being confirmed.
Last week's rainfall across the High Plains improved U.S. winter wheat conditions. The crop was rated 44% good to excellent nationally through Sunday, compared to 41% the prior week and 45% on average. Only 18% of the crop was rated poor to very poor, down from 23% the prior week. Kansas experienced the most significant improvement in conditions across the plains. Conditions also improved in Oklahoma, Texas, and Nebraska. The crop was 91% planted through Sunday, compared to 87% last week and 93% on average.
So the rating still isn't fantastic relative to history. I would anticipate another improvement next week. There was a lot of rain. I think some of this was snow in U.S. HRW wheat country in the Southern Plains. There's also been rains that have moved in and out of the Midwest. There's some rain on the radar again this morning over SRW wheat country. So I would expect additional improvement in the winter wheat ratings. The wheat market has acted very poorly. Yesterday was an especially bad day, kind of broke through some chart support. And it looks like a test of those lows that we posted back in August in the wheat market. And this goes for HRW, SRW spring wheat. Looks like a little bit more probable given that price action yesterday. So not necessarily a good deal at all.
The U.S. row crop harvest is nearing completion. The U.S. corn crop was 95% harvested nationally through Sunday, compared to 91% the previous week and 84% on average. Harvest progress is the fastest since 2005. Only Colorado and Pennsylvania are running at below average harvest pace. Harvest is complete in North Carolina and Texas. U.S. soybeans were 96% harvested nationally through Sunday, compared to 94% the prior week and 91% on average. Harvest pace is below average in Kentucky, Missouri, North Carolina, and Tennessee. Harvest is complete in Louisiana, Minnesota, North Dakota, and South Dakota.
Just about done with corn and soybean harvest. This is the last week, I believe, that USDA will print a harvest update. So it was a pretty smooth and pretty fast harvest season for row crops in the U.S.
U.S. soybean shipments declined slightly last week. USDA reported that 84 million bushels of soybeans were inspected for export during the week ending November 7th. The print was down 1.3% from the previous week, but up 13% compared to the same week last year. Corn shipments were reported at 31 million bushels. The print was down 1% compared to the previous week, but up 10% versus the same week last year. Wheat shipments were near the upper end of pre-report expectations at 13 million bushels. The print was up 69% from the previous week and up 42% versus the same week last year.
Soybean shipments strong again at almost 2.3 million. And just to reiterate, this is the time of year when we need to be shipping a lot of soybeans. And that's exactly what we're doing. The concern for me would be, if anything, corn shipments. So primetime U.S. corn shipping season begins in like February, March, and that's after Trump's inaugurated. So what if he actually does a whole bunch of tariff stuff day one, and there's some retaliation on day one? Does that put your U.S. corn shipping program at risk? I don't know. I think it's just one of a million possibilities that you at least need to entertain. We know that corn export sales have been really good, and shipments to this point have been good and above the pace needed to hit USDA projections. But still, we're not into primetime corn shipping season. And once we get there, what's the geopolitical landscape going to look like? I don't really know, but it's a big question mark.
We did have a flash sale of corn yesterday. U.S. exporters sold 4 million bushels of corn to Mexico for delivery during the current marketing year. Accumulated corn export sales are up a whopping 48% compared to the same period last year.
Nothing special, but we are absolutely thankful to have Mexico around because China is not going to help us out this year the way that it looks. What did cattle do yesterday?
Cattle futures were higher. Live cattle ended the day with gains of 70 cents to $1.17 across the board. Feeders were 67 cents to 187 higher. Box beef was mixed. Choice ended the day at 308.27. That was up 6 cents. Select ended the day at 279.92. That was down $1.94.
Outside markets fairly quiet. U.S. dollar's about flat. S&P's down 13 points. The Dow's down 120. Bonds up a little bit. Gold's up $7. Crude oil is up 35 cents in the December WTI at 68.47. Have a great day, guys. We'll be back Thursday